Now that we've arranged all the objects on the page, it's time to tweak some properties and define them as we want. So let's start with something simple, such as an image object. There's a name, which I can just rename. Let's call this background. I can change its position by punching in X and Y values. I can change its dimensions, basically resizing it either with locked or unlocked aspect ratio. And I can decide whether upon page load this image shows, or there's some kind of rule defining when it would show, and more about this in actions. So let's go now to an animation. I have exactly the same thing here. I'll call this Bob and Poppy. I can play the animation from here. By default it would play once, and it would play for a duration of 1 second. I can edit the animation. More about this in Edit Animation video. In this case, I can decide whether this animation plays immediately, such as background animation. I decide to leave it unchecked, so it will be an interactive animation. Here I have the duration. I can play with that. In this case, 1 second is exactly right. I can choose whether it would loop and how many times it would iterate. In this case, I want it to iterate 3 times. And I will do the same for the other 2 animations. So these are the dorks. And in this case, I want them to stop on the last frame. These are the disco dogs. And I think they should go a bit faster than this. Yeah, that's about right. Maybe they should even do it twice. Okay, let's move on to sound. This one is The Sad Song by Poppy. I'll put it on channel 1. The idea behind the channels is that they don't clash. I put background music usually on background channel, narration on narration channel, and I have other channels to play around with, so channels don't clash. If 2 sounds try to play using the same channel at the same time, the second one would stop the first one. I don't want this to start immediately on page load, and everything else is fine. Do the same for the other sounds.
His dream shattered.
This is narration. So I'll give it the right channel. I do want it to play immediately, and in this case it is recordable, so that parents and children can record themselves. Now this is the background music, and I want it to play immediately. Now moving on to the text. First of all, I want to choose a different font. In this case, I want to choose this one. I can tweak the size. I can decide which will be the font color, but I'm pretty happy with black, so I'll leave it at that. Opacity justification, bold, frame, so forth. That's it. We basically tweaked all the properties on the page. Let's just double click to see that they work as we want them to. So everything is now defined as I want it to be and ready to be made interactive.